Hello everyone, Andrew here, and welcome to today's video where I thought I would talk about something a little bit different from what you can probably expect to hear about on my channel, but as many people know, there are strange circumstances happening around the world right now, and I suppose strange circumstances, lead to strange things going on all over the place, and you're not allowed to talk about specifically what's happening on YouTube for whatever reason, lest your video, be risked being taken down, and who knows what other kinds of consequences. I think that should raise a lot of red flags. If my channel was bigger and had any kind of influence, I would definitely be questioning exactly what's going on right now, but alas, I just have my little slice of the internet, which I'm very happy to have, but it would be really nice if people were actually questioning the suppression of speech of an event that's actually happening and is actually causing giant repercussions, which you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube for some reason. But I'm not here to talk about that particular fact, which hopefully someone else out there, who, like I said, does have more influence will talk about, but a topic that's always on my mind, and something particularly aimed at those who may not have school over the next little while, because of course all sorts of public functions and things are being cancelled, shut down, schools for many people being one of those things. And I want to remind everyone something that I wish I had been reminded of back in the day, and that is that despite not being at school, despite not being in a classroom, it is totally still possible to learn new things and develop new skills. And you probably thought, this is going to be Andrew talking about there's no school going on. He's going to be like, play video games non-stop all day, every day. And I mean, that's some pretty cool advice as well. Advice which I definitely took back in the day whenever I had any kind of break from school or such. But one thing I want everyone to think about in this kind of situation is that now that you have some time away from school, you're not going to be, going there every day, burdened with homework, burdened with busy work, and all the other sorts of crazy, often pointless things that school brings with it. I do want to remind you that there is now the opportunity, of course, to play video games while you're off from school, but also to learn and study the things that you truly have a passion for. Growing up, I felt like school was such a confined space where you go, you learn these very specific things, and then, they give you a bunch of homework, a bunch of things to go along with it, and then there's not really any time to grow as an individual. You're so busy focusing on all the subjects that you're being graded on and judged on that it feels like there's no incentive to actually spend time developing skills or learning about things that you are passionate about that aren't going to be on the test at the end of the week. So now that we have this point where, of course there's always breaks throughout the year and such, where you can focus on what you want, I think it's so easy to just take that hard turn whenever you're not in school that makes you think, no, this is not the time that I need to focus on learning things. This is the time where I can just spend, as much as I want doing leisurely things, which is very important. Playing video games, doing all the sorts of things are very important as well. But just what I wish someone had reminded me when I was younger is that, there's more to learning and, it's experiencing life than what they really make you think. Is, like, the classroom is the most important place. This is where everything happens, and, these are the essentials. There's nothing that you need to think about on your own. Just think about what we tell you in the classroom. And I think back to my school days, and I realized that it's almost like everything that I liked in some way was seen as bad in some way by either the teachers or the school. Like, playing video games? Awful. Playing Pokemon cards? Bad. Playing Beyblade? It's like the worst thing ever. If it wasn't, studying, reading novels, or doing homework, it was just a waste of time. And think about how that makes you feel as a child, where you're just being introduced to the world, all these different things out there, and yet these people who are supposed to be looking out for you are telling you that everything you like, there's something wrong with it. And I think that's why so many people, they don't like school, they don't like learning, they see reading as something that's bad, because all they can associate that with is homework and tests, and not, enjoying themselves and actually learning things that they want to learn. And it would just go so far if teachers could understand that even in playing video games, playing Pokemon cards, even in spinning a Beyblade, there are opportunities there for learning. And I think it would go so far if, instead of just telling people what they had to know, they looked at what people actually enjoy doing and nurtured the opportunities for learning that exist there. So while you have time that maybe you did not have before, definitely think to yourself, what exactly am I spending this time doing? Maybe you're like me, you've always wanted to learn a new language like Japanese. Maybe you want to learn more about electronic repair. Maybe you want to become better at programming. Maybe you want to become a better artist. any number of things. There are so many possibilities. Only you know deep down what it is that you truly love doing and where you truly want to see yourself someday using the skills that you have developed, not the skills that other people have forced into you, but the skills that you looked inside yourself, found that you truly love and that you truly nurtured and developed and pushed yourself to the point where you became better than others and could excel at that, so that, you know, you could offer it to the world, maybe even in terms of, you know, something you can use as an occupation. That's the kind of thing that you can sit in as many classrooms as you want, and only you can figure that out. So think about it during this time, of course, taking, you know, the frequent break to enjoy some games, enjoy some things like that, but also use this time to think deeply to yourself, what exactly is it that I think would be a great way to spend my time and to learn in ways that I'm never going to get from, you know, the average classroom. An example for me, when I was younger, my family and I went on a trip to Epcot. You know, down in Florida, a Disney theme park, and at Epcot they have pavilions for countries all over the world, one of them being Japan. And my parents said, you're free to get a souvenir from this store at the Japanese pavilion if you wish, and I bought this book right here. It's a book with kanji and a whole sorts of Japanese characters in it, particularly also katakana and hiragana. It gives you little pictures that you can use to help you remember what the symbols look like, and I thought that was so cool. I thought it would be so neat to read through this, learn all the different symbols, and I thought if I did that, I would be fluent in Japanese. Now, I was very naive at the time. It's incredible to think that, you know, just thinking that if I learned everything in here, I would be, you know, as good as I wished I could be back then, and I'm very close to being now in the Japanese language. But I thought that was so cool. So I was on a summer vacation. I got this book, I brought it home, I started from the beginning, started learning all the different symbols, and then what happens, but school resumes. And at school, none of the schools I ever attended up to university, there were no Japanese classes. So what happens is, you know, suddenly you're being told you have to focus on all these other things that aren't the thing that you truly have a passion for, and I slowly started to forget what I learned, and then the next summer would come along and I'd start studying it again, but then school would come along again, and no matter how hard I always tried to, you know, stick with it, just all these other things I'm being told I have to do, all these homework assignments and projects I'm being told are more important than the things I would rather spend my own time learning about, you know, pushed it aside. And it wasn't until many years later before I put my foot down and said, no, this is what I am more passionate about than anything. Regardless if anyone else is going to teach it to me or not, I am going to spend the time learning it and developing the skill that no one else is going to just someday give me, and I'm not going to magically wake up one day and have it. I have to study it. So I just think that it's so important to remember that if you have something you're passionate about, if you have a dream, you have to chase it. And especially in a time like this where you are given, you know, that space from the confinement of things like school, it's very important to, you know, think about maybe looking into those things that you would not otherwise have the opportunity to think about. And one other thing I want to bring up in relation to all this is the best worst invention, I think, of the last while, and that is the smartphone. This thing is both the worst and best thing in, like, your life. Like, it's incredible just how good and bad it can be for us at the same time. So next time you pick up your phone, think about, what am I going to do with it? Am I just going to, you know, open up a social media app and scroll through the feed, looking at people posting very carefully tailored portions of their life on there, which just, you know, makes them look like everything's great, you know, just see what everyone had for breakfast, just this, and you'll maybe come across some other terrible things happening in the world. Or you can use this thing to search up literally any topic of your choosing. You can learn a new language, you can learn how to draw, you can learn how to program with just this thing, of course with the computer too, but, you know, anywhere that you are, you can put notes on here. You can do so much with your phone, and I have spent so much more time with my Japanese dictionary, with my study tools, with all sorts of resources than I ever have with social media. And I think that one of the best things I ever did was, like, delete Facebook. Yes, I have a Twitter page still for my channel, but I mostly use that for channel related things. I do not just, you know, scroll through social media, and it's so easy to find yourself doing that. I found that when I had a Facebook page. I would just, without even realizing it, reach over, grab the phone, open up the Facebook app, start scrolling through it. Oh, that's what they had for dinner. Oh, that's what's, you know, wrong with their life these days. Oh, that's, you know, this obviously very, tailored portion of their life that they've posted on the internet to make it seem like that their life is just perfect. And that's what social media will do. It will just send you into this swamp that does absolutely nothing for you, but consume your time and probably depress you in various ways too. Seeing people whose lives appear to be better than yours, seeing political things that obviously there's a lot of political things going on these days that aren't so great. And I think that just social media realizing that this thing can be that bad, but it can also be your gateway to learning and doing so much more than just consuming pointless information. That's an important thing to remind people about as well, because it's just so easy to get lost in that whirlpool of consuming pointless information that does really nothing to better our lives. So think about that too. Think about what you're doing with your time that you probably have away from school right now. I have viewers of all different age groups, so maybe you're someone who gets to stay home, and obviously staying home from work doesn't just mean you don't do any work, but if you have some time in that regard as well, it's never too late to start learning something new as well. And I'm so happy that I picked up Japanese when I did. I wish I had been studying it since as long as I possibly could have. I wish I had grown up with it. Just these days I have so much fun reading and translating Japanese because that was it. I found the thing that I was like, I love video games. I'm super, super, super passionate for video games, but in terms of, a skill that I could develop more than anything else, I'm just so happy that I finally took the time to learn the Japanese language. And you must have something like that too, something that you're not just, one day walk into a classroom and be taught, but something that if you put the initiative in, you could be amazing at. And I think that with technology, it's easier than ever to reach that point, but you must not fall into the trap that is things like social media. So yeah, if you have time away from whatever it is that you might be doing, school, work, and such, definitely think about how you're using it. Definitely do not be afraid to take video game breaks and such, but don't be afraid to learn something outside the classroom. But now with that time to yourself, definitely consider that as an option, I think. This is a weird video. Very strange for my channel, but I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I made you think about, things that perhaps you haven't thought about before. Things that, no one really told me. With parents who, didn't grow up with technology, so they're not going to tell you about what's going on the phones and stuff. And, parents who never really thought too much, I guess, about the fact that there's so much more to learn than what's just in the classroom. Hopefully, get your mind racked a little bit. So with that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope if have any time off, you do enjoy it, and I hope you'll join me next time because there's more videos on the way. So thanks, and see you later.